Hey everybody, so I already recorded this video today. It's Monday's video where I set my intentions for the week, and then every Thursday I come back and I tell you how that went. I'm a small business owner here in Portland, Oregon, and normally I would be recording this in my office, but we are in the middle of a heat wave. It was over 90 degrees today and it was just so damn hot. I was in my office most of the day and I couldn't stand another second in there, so I came in, I recorded my video on the back porch, and then I went and took a nice long cold shower and washed and conditioned my hair, which is, if anybody else has curly hair out there, you know that it can be, it can feel tedious before you do it, but then when you're doing it, you're like, oh, this is what I needed. So while I was doing that, I realized that the video I recorded earlier didn't really say what I wanted it to. But also, one of the big, sort of like deals with me recording these videos is for me to have more time with my friends and family and more time to focus on what really matters in my life, which is friends and family and self-development. So this is going to be one take. If it doesn't work, then I'm just not going to post a video. I'll post my intentions on LinkedIn, which is where I put these, but there won't be a video component because I have other priorities. My priorities are my family and my health, and dinner is literally starting in like 10 minutes. So here's what I wanted to say in the video is basically just talking about the heat wave, talking about how that's making me think a lot about my body and paying attention to it and hydrating and being able to be present. I also wanted to talk about last week. One of the things that I mentioned last week was just that, like, I had this middle of the week pit of despair that took me over, and it took sort of like going through the weekend and thinking more about just things and then listening to my body and my mind to realize that, I talk about this all the time in my videos. We are in an unprecedented stress event. The global pandemic, the federal response to protests, especially here, the police response to protests was atrocious. Police officers beating people and shooting munitions at them. And then the federal government here in Portland invaded our city and started kidnapping people off the street and has escalated the violence on the street to an unreal level. Well, it's totally real, to a totally real level. So that is fucking stressful just for every person. Every person in the city is feeling that strain. And just because I got used to how stressful every day is for me doesn't mean it stopped being stressful. So when other events piled on top of that, like the death of my grandmother and just the struggle to keep the business afloat day to day, it was overwhelming because it was already overwhelming. And basically my body just was like, oh, right, we're overwhelmed. And went completely rational because it's overwhelming. Anyway, so that's my sort of like main thought. I also wanted to talk about my objectives. It's a day, y'all. Anyway, so objectives. I am now officially 6 weeks and 1/2 of a day into meeting my eating goals for 6 straight weeks. That has, for those of you who are new, that has literally never happened to me in my life. Here's my cat, if y'all wanted a guest appearance from the cat. But yeah, eating goals, met every single goal for 6 straight weeks. That's literally never happened to me. Yes, huh, cat? And I'm very happy about it, but I have been noticing the past week, especially with the heat, I am pushing it. 3 days in a row, basically 2 meals out of 4, if you count snacks as a meal, I go right up to the line of when it is okay to wait to eat. And if I want to continue to meet my eating goals week after week, that can't go on. So that's going to be back on the very, very top of my to-do list every single day. That's just a super priority for me. I don't want to backslide I don't want to, I know slips are a part of recovery, but also if I can see this behavior happening and avoid it, I am going to do that. So that's my number 1, eating goals. My number 2 is body-led working. I just hit the mic. Anyway, body-led working. One of the things that was happening during this period of time last week where I got really, really stressed out is that I wasn't listening to my body, and I wasn't listening to myself when I was like, man, I'm feeling really stressed out. I was having expectations of myself that because things weren't that stressful, which now that I repeat that internal monologue in front of a camera, I'm like, oh my God, that wasn't a red flag. Anyway, instead of listening to my body, I listened to my expectations of what my body should be doing. And that's not listening to my body. That's not the same thing at all. So eating goals, listening to my body, listening to my stress response, and then focusing on the things that I can change. I've been, because of the escalation of violence here in Portland, even though it's not affecting my home personally, it is affecting my city and my region. I have a lot of friends who are really doing the courageous, awesome, amazing work of being down in the protests and the front lines. I can't go because I have an autoimmune disease and I have asthma and compromised lung function. So being exposed to the virus could be deadly for me. But that doesn't mean that I'm not being available for people. I'm still showing up for people. I'm, donating what I can when I can. I'm working on stuff behind the scenes from my house as much as I can to protect our rights here in Portland and our, right to free speech and our right to assembly and our safety. And it is very, very stressful. And it is important to focus on the work that I can do instead of being overwhelmed by despair. So those are my 3 objectives. It's at 3 objectives, maybe 4 objectives. Focus on eating goals, body-led working style, focus on what I can change. So that's 3. I will see you on Thursday where I'll tell you how I did with these objectives. Have a great week. And very important takeaway for me today is just because you've gotten used to carrying this burden doesn't mean it's any less of a burden. It is still fucked up out here, everybody. Take care of yourself. See you on Thursday. Oh, and as always, this video is brought to you by Letter-O-Matic, my newsletter writing company. We can write you a newsletter in 30 minutes.